Um, hi everyone. Thanks for coming today to this Zine workshop hosted by Center for Creativity. Worker at the Center for Creativity, but I'm also an undergraduate student. I study architecture, theater for scenic design, and studio arts. So today we're going to make some zines. We're going to first, I'm going to give you a little bit of history about what a zine is. We're going to go through some examples and then we're going to make some together, or at least start to make some. You don't have to finish one completely. You probably won't in the hour we had together. But that sounds good with everybody. And hopefully as we make later, we'll listen to more jazz and chat and kind of make it more workshopy, more comfy. But just to get started, I'm just going to share my screen and just talk a little bit about zines. I know that we've all seen so many PowerPoint presentations over Zoom that I'm going to try and make this as painless as possible. Wow, where is it? Oh, here we go. All right. So just to quickly talk about what a zine is a self-published print piece of work that's easy to reproduce, and it breaks free from all the like capitalists and like the governance that comes from formally producing a magazine or a piece of print work. This is supposed to be an accessible way of creating and passing out information. I recently learned that a zine, it sounds for a mini magazine. That's where the zine is at the end. It sounds like, why didn't you know that, Kami? But I just learned recently, so that's pretty cool. But a zine can take in form of any means of expression. It can be educational writing, scripts, art, photos. You can be telling a story or trying to educate people. There are really few rules to a zine. And like I said before, it's an accessible way to share knowledge because you can pass them out. If they're online, you can share them widely. And just to tie in with the programming that has been going on this week from CAP, zines can also be a form of protest and rebellion because protest takes many forms. Self-education is a form of protest, and sharing education, self-care, and specifically Black joy is a form of protest. And because capitalist state, accessibility is not something that is liked, accessibility is a form of protest because it's something people tried to put obstacles around to prevent people from getting to that sort of thing. So just to give one example of historic zine, specifically a Black zine during the Harlem Renaissance, is this one called Fire, which is a literary zine that was for Black young creatives get to express themselves freely and also discuss topics of sex and queerness and things that in the Black community at the time weren't widely discussed. It was founded by a whole group of people, including Zora Neale Hurston, Wallace Thurman, Langston Hughes, and it was independently published. Unlike some other zines, Black zines at the time that had to be funded by white donors, and those zines people didn't really like, so they felt it was more for the white community and the Black community. But this was independently published, and there's only actually one copy of it produced. The name came from wanting to burn up dead ideas of the past, and they actually produced it with the goal of trying to create as much scandal as possible. And just to take a peek inside, this is an illustration by Aaron Douglas on the left, and there's poetry on the right. In this zine, there was also some playwriting scripts, more poetry, more writing and art. It's a combination of all of these. And if you're interested, all of these are linked because there are actually like copies of these online. So if you're interested in reading the zines examples that we'll go through, we can send them to you after so you can see. Just to talk about some more current examples, zines at protests. This is one mutual aid network, but there are many networks that at protests are giving out accessible education through zines to talk to people about community policing or colonialism. So this is one example. And these are, obviously you can see, easily reproducible, probably just printed and folded and stapled and then ready to give out. Here is another example that will probably look closer to what we'll create today. This zine is called Shotgun Seamstress. And it was created by Osa because it came out of frustration because she couldn't find a Black community within the punk scene. So she created this zine um, to start creating that community and to inspire other Black creatives that wanted to get into punk, that they could create material instead of being a passive consumer. So this zine combines collage, handwriting, as you can see, some doodling. So it's very easily accessible. The zine is called The Gay Agenda, and it's produced by Change Rape Culture, which their mission is to change the conversation around sexual assault and harassment in different social settings. And it is a combination of storytelling and photography and art, and giving space for other people to tell their stories that they want to share. And this last zine is called Black Joy, and it is a combination. I should probably, let me see if I can. Can you guys see the example of it on the screen? At the actual zine, or do you still see the PowerPoint? I can't tell. Let me see. Okay, cool. So this zine, because Black Joy is an act of resistance and protest, and getting to see that and experience that and witness that. So this zine is is a combination of, this is more editorial magazine style, and you'll see some zines that are more online have the ability to like incorporate more digital art and produce it more a little bit higher scale because it is online and accessible in that way. But it's a mixture of writing, art, photography. Yeah, so it's a cool manifestation and visualization of joy. It's almost like a photo journal. It's a story. So this is also a cool example. But like I said, ours will probably look more like Shotgun Seamstress, because it is a mix of collage and pen work and doodling. And I encourage you to get the chance, because the cool thing about these zines that are accessible online and not just in person is that last zine, Black Joy, was from France, actually. So we're able to see that even being a country away. I don't think we'll be allowed in France anytime soon anyway. So we're able to see their work and their art. So this is pretty cool. But yes, okay. Cool, I made that short and painless, hopefully. And now that we went through that, we're going to start walking through how to create a zine. So I have this fancy setup. Let's see. This fancy setup where I have 2 cameras, and they're doing construction outside of my house right now, and I'm so very sorry. But I have 2 fancy cameras. Not fancy. There's a camera so you can see what I'm doing down here in my hands. But if you go to speaker view in the top right corner, then it'll become, hopefully you can pin the video, and then it can become the largest video that you see, just to help you see what I'm talking about. So just before we get started, I wanted to show an example of a zine I made. I call it Black American, but American is crossed out, because I believe that phrase in itself is an oxymoron. But this is kind of just like I would call it more of like a narrative style, where I was just processing, like a stream of consciousness, where I was just taking some time to visualize and process some thoughts, especially through collage and through layering and pen. As you can see, I just wrote the words. And these brown pieces are actually just paper bags that I cut up. And these images you see are printed from the internet and just cut up as well. So you can use whatever materials you have around you to help you create and help you tell this story that you want to tell. And I just wanted to explore here, of course, a lot of anger that I feel, well, thank you, that I feel around the constant like dehumanization, disrespect of Black people. So I funneled it into this zine, and I was asking like, why are we, as I was like in my head, I was like, what could we have done to make someone, a group of people hate us for 400 plus years? Like, why don't you go play instead, better use of your energy. But yeah, so I just explored that in this zine. So if everybody has access to some materials, at the very least, I would say if you have some sheets of paper, these are 8.5 by 11 pieces, but any grade of paper is fine. Any type of paper is fine. There are some images that I just printed out just because I don't have access to magazines, but if you have anything that, if you want to collage, and you have anything to collage with, like magazines or newspaper clippings, those would be good. Like I said, I use the paper bags. I wanted that texture. And just some scissors and some writing utensils, some glue if you want to collage, and you can use like colored pencils or markers or whatever else if you want to doodle. So does everyone have access to at least some of those supplies, at least a paper and pencil and something to write with? Can I get a thumbs up if you have access to those? So I know, just so I know, so I don't go without and leave people behind. But if there's ever a time where I'm going too fast or you want me to repeat something, just let me know. And don't be afraid to unmute yourself so I can hear you. But essentially that zine, yes, that zine you just saw was like a 6-page zine. And essentially it's from one sheet of paper. And I just, because I didn't have access to a stapler, there are ways to cut it so you don't need a stapler and it stays together by itself. So there's this 6-page one, and there's also this mini 8-page one that's also cuts and folded. And I'm gonna show you just how to fold both, just in case you want to do a smaller one, just so that you know how to do both. So to start with this bigger 6-page one, what we're gonna do is just, this one's easy, just take your paper, fold it like a hamburger, fold it like this, fold it in half one way. And if you had a stapler, you would just cut this in half and then do this again, staple together. But so that we don't need a stapler to hold together, I'm going to fold it in the other direction to make it into a little book. And then I'm going to unfold it and take my scissors. And I'm going to cut along this fold. I'm gonna cut along this fold, but not all the way to the center. So I'm essentially gonna give it a pivot point so it can stay together. And that's kind of like a little spine for it to stay together. And that way, it's like hanging on by a thread, but it's still hanging on, which is pretty good. And then I just fold it and fold it again, and you have a little book. Like I said before, you could just completely cut it in half and staple it if you have access to a stapler. But this is an easy way to create the 6-page one. Does anyone have any questions for that one? Or I show you how to make the mini 8-page one? Cool. All right. The 8-page one's a little bit more complicated. So what we're gonna do is fold it in half long way. So fold it like a hot dog, like they say in kindergarten. I'm gonna fold it long ways. I'm going to unfold it and lay it flat. Oops. What I'm gonna do then is take each side of it and fold it so it meets in the center. So take the edges, go inward and fold, increase that. Again, if I'm going too fast, just let me know. And then I'm going to take it again and fold it completely in half. And then increase that. Then what I'm going to do is unfold it and then take this center seam and fold it so it's facing, so it makes something that looks like this. So it's like an upside down T. You want the center to be up here. And then I'm gonna take my scissors and right along this seam right here, I'm gonna cut it and cut it all the way, not all the way through, not to this part, but just on that one part, just like this. Just like that, just that one cut there. And then once I have that one cut, all I have to do is take the paper and fold it like this. So it starts to become a star, and just recrease the things that are refusing to bend right now. And then you have a little star, and then you can just fold that into a little booklet like this. And you'll see that when it's, if you chose to like do your illustrations and doodles when they're unfolded, you'll see that it's a completely different, like the page numbers are all different. Like if I unfold this, you'll see that like this one all the way down here is 1 and this one is 6. But yeah, this is how you make this little cute booklet. And of course, people make like multiples of either of these and then start with like 2 pages and then start binding them together. So you go from 6 to like 10. But this is like a nice, manageable, digestible size for a zine, I think. And so now you have the base for the zine. And what I did before I started mine, because I wanted to write in pen and marker, is that if you have a piece of scrap paper, just planning out the ideas you want to explore or the things you want to doodle or like a poem or anything you want to put in, just like give yourself some quick ideas before you dive in, so that you're doing something and ending up with something that you like. And so you don't have to like cross out too many words, even though I like when people scribble out words, it gives it a little bit more personalized character. So yeah, planning before you dive right into it is also a cool idea. But does anyone have any questions about how I folded these before we just take some time to create some zines and put on back some jazz? Or if you have any questions about zines in general, or anything in general. If you've been going to the rest of the CAT programs, I hope you've been enjoying them. I went to the one last night and I was crying because everyone was crying. It was really good. But yeah, anyone have any questions? Questions, comments, concerns? I'm going to work on this mini one today. If there are no concerns, I'm going to put on a little jazz music again in the background. If anyone has any requests, let me know. I think I'm going to make this zine, what am I gonna do? I think I'm gonna make this one text-based and kind of like write text that goes across all the pages. So you have to flip through it to get the full message, and probably add some more of these images I just found on Pinterest that I printed out. So yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. Feel free to share what you're working on in the chat or with a video, maybe at the end. If you produce something you want to share, we can all turn on our videos and share it. There's also the idea that if people create zines that they like, that the library will scan them and then have them on display or have them for people to read or have access to, if that's something you'd be interested in. You keep your original, of course, but that was an idea we had. But yeah, all right, I'm going to put on back some jazz music and I'll just be here working on this. Feel free to ask questions or chat in the chat or in person, or do whatever makes you comfy. Let me share my sound again. I made, I forgot to say, this is like washi tape that I had. I used washi tape, some printed images, and some some brown paper bags that I like that layering effect. And I like using multiple images and cutting out little accents to help me put this together. I just like use a glue stick to put them on there. To make these little, like, how it looks like it's like layered in that way, what I do, I'll actually just have to do it, is I take whatever I'm tracing it on. You can even, newspaper would be a good, like a cool way, or text paper would be a cool way to put those little offsets there. But if I take my my paper and I just take the image I want to make like an echo of, I just trace it around with a pencil, roughly. That wasn't that good, but I just trace it around roughly and then cut it out. And that's just like a cool way to get a little effect. I do this a lot even when I design things digitally. It's a fact that I really like to use. It's a pretty popular effect to use, just to give something a little more depth. Then, and then you can see if I laid this down and offset it, gives that cool effect. Just a little bit, just gives a little something, something. Then I like to layer images, but like the way that looks. Yeah, just wanted to review that for the people that just joined. Cool, I'll put back on. Cool, so we're almost at the end, at 1 o'clock at the end of our time together. So I want to thank everyone for coming. If you have anything you want to share, I didn't do much. I started to make this. I saw it as a tweet. It says, "Why do we live in your head rent free?" So I just made it. I thought I put it nice and easy and too little, and I'd probably go back and doodle and add some more. Add some more to it. But yeah, it's a little one I made. If anyone wants to share theirs, but otherwise, if anyone wants to share, do so. Yeah. But otherwise, I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was a nice break from your usual Zoom meetings and classes, that you enjoyed the jazz and just some time to chill and hopefully eat a snack. But yeah, so that's all I have. If I'll email out, if you're interested, the links, all the examples that I showed, if you're interested in reading them. Issue is also that website I was on. You can search and find so many zines and magazines from around the world. So I really recommend taking a look at that site. But yeah, that's all I have. So thank you guys for coming, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day, and I hope you get to go outside today. Yeah. Cool. Thank you, everyone.